Hey, what's going on? It's Bosco here, live with these two degenerates. We just watched Mullholland Drive. It's a David Lynch film. It came out in the late 90s. It's just like most of his other shit, it's fucking weird. It's fucking weird. And
hold on, before we get into it, I want to say that we were originally slated to discuss Gangs of New York, a film very different from Mulholland Drive, because we, back in the day, when we first watched that one with Andrew here, that one was a contentious one between us, but we watched that one about, 4 or 5 days ago,
yeah.
And it's a little harder to do a movie review a little removed from the film. It felt easier to just do one right after the fact. So
I think we'd also said we're at a resolution point. The first night after I watched that movie, we had lots of heated debate, but now we've come to an agreement on the good and bad parts of that movie. Overall, I think it's pretty well.
Slurs were thrown.
Gangs in New York, all right, but we're here for Mullholland Drive.
So I brought this one to the table because I love David Lynch. I think he's a weirdo, but I feel like this is like one of those movies that, like, you know, it's kind of up its own ass a little bit. It is, like I said, it is esoteric. Yeah, it is, but it's good. It's good.
Well, coming into this one, Andrew, you said you hadn't seen much David Lynch before, right?
No, I haven't.
You hadn't seen Twin Peaks or Blue Velvet?
Nah, I've still never seen either of those.
Yeah. You saw The Elephant Man.
The Elephant Man, that's the only David Lynch film I've seen. And it's funny, I don't, like you said, I don't know a lot of David Lynch, but I was thinking about how to describe the structure of this movie. You know, sometimes there's a build-up, a resolution, a climax, and this movie, it's difficult to describe because there's not a lot of solid structure. It skips around. I noticed that all the cuts between the scenes are really hard. There's no fade-ins or fade-outs. It's all...
There's constant fading in and out.
Well, either way, you're going from one scene to something completely different. It's not exactly like...
It is quite disjointed.
Lead into each other.
Yeah, so that was... Wait, hold on.
So...
That was literally the second thing I fucking wrote, was disjointed. Yeah.
So that would bring me to my main theory about this.
Wait, hold on. Before you go into your theory, hold
Okay.
on. I want to bring up just a couple small things.
For it.
This movie, like, in the beginning, like, one of the things I wrote was, like, it feels like a bunch of, like, vignettes. It felt like a bunch of, like, slice-of-life shit in fucking in L.A., but, like, with David Lynch's, like, weird fucking, you know, like I said, nonsense.
And I would agree with that, too, and I would also say that also leads into my theory in that one of the first notes I had about this film is that it feels like it's taking place in a dream state. And let's just saying how dreams occur when you have, like, let's say you're having a night where you're dreaming a lot. It feels like you'll have a dream and it feels like there's an overarching plot in the dream, but it'll feel somehow disjointed and almost like you said, it's a bunch of vignettes occurring in your dream, connected yet somehow disjointed. You know, so this film very much feels like it takes place in a surrealist dream state of some kind. You know, and one of the opening scenes is that guy who's always the creepy character with the eyebrows and whatnot in the Winkies Cafe saying, like, hey, this feels like a dream right now. Like, and then he goes out there and there's that scene where he walks around being like, I'm in a dream. I'm in a dream.
He finds me. He finds this weirdo.
He turns the corner and there's like an ogre right there. Of
the troll.
Yeah.
Don't disturb the troll.
Yeah, it's funny, and the way, even now, moments after the film, the way you remember it is very dreamlike, where you can remember certain actions, or these two people are together, but there's no way to kind of reconstruct in your mind, like, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. It doesn't follow that way because it kind of jumps around. At certain points, I was thinking, you know, is this all in the same timeline? But looking back over the whole movie, the timeline isn't really a factor.
It doesn't. It doesn't matter though.
Right,
the time of events doesn't matter. Like there's a certain order, right? Like in place, but it doesn't really matter watching them in order, and that's what I think is really cool about this movie is that basically David Lynch made a movie where he tells like a very like I wouldn't say basic story, but he tells a story. These two young actresses fall in love. There's jealousy. One gets the part. They drift apart. Then she hires the assassin, who was actually I realized what I recognized him from, and none of you are gonna recognize it, but he was Lucifer and what's that fucking shitty show? Supernatural. He played. Yeah. But anyway, so fucking. I think like he's just. But I had kind of like a different take on it actually. The take I had on it, like I for sure I can see the dream shit.
Can I go into the dream stuff a little bit before you?
Well, sure. Yeah. Let me just.
Your take?
Yeah. All right, go.
Okay, so other things of note is first off, I feel like much of David Lynch's work is surrealist and dreamlike. Twin Peaks. Like you said, as we're watching it, Twin Peaks has a fevered dream feel to it. The lighting and certain just scenes, like the glow. There's like a soft glow of lights in a lot of scenes that I feel like lends credence to its almost kind of like otherworldly, ethereal feel to it.
Well, I'd also throw into your theory. What's it called? The music for sure is very dreamlike, but menacing. It's almost like a nightmare at points.
Yeah.
But.
Well, there's also the fact that in dreams a lot of times, people you might know in real life, and then you see them in dreams aren't quite who they are.
Right, and that's what I
see that in
that's what I was
dream.
that's what I was trying to say. Like with the acting in the movie, like they act like how you would imagine. Like, because we all think like, oh, like if you encounter someone in a dream, they're talking normally, but like in that scenario, they probably are talking like weird and disjointed and like kind of like wooden. But like also like melodramatic, right?
Yeah.
Like the highs are very high and the lows are like very low. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's just, if that's like I'm saying like lends credence to your dream theory, but
one other thing is, this is gonna sound weird, but another movie based on dreams explicitly stated that it's a dream is Inception, and in Inception they have a token. And they use this token.
It's not just a dream. It's a movie about a dream within a dream. Get it right.
Well, yeah, but the token is the important part here. Yeah. So they use a token as an indicator that they're dreaming.
Yeah.
And I noticed what I believe to be a token, an indicator of them being in the dream world versus being in real life. And that is the blue key. Because the first couple of times the blue key is shown, it's this like weird triangular pyramid-like device that doesn't quite look like a key, and in dreams a lot of times you'll see objects that are familiar but somehow they're distorted in this weird way where they're like almost otherworldly, and that's how the key in the dream feels, where it's like in this pyramid triangular shape, and then later at the end of the movie it shows the key a couple times and it looks like a normal typical key, like how it would look in real life, but in the dream it's like this weird distorted shape, so I kind of saw that as like almost like a token of some kind of an indicator that you're dreaming when you see the weird distorted shapes, glowing lights, people that are familiar but who are also like weirdly different. And a final note I took of this at the very end, the last thing I wrote down was that, like many dreams, it feels like a lot happens in this movie, but also not very much in a weird way. You know, so, you know, you ever have like a deep, heavy dream and you're like, holy shit, you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my god, that was a crazy dream. Like, holy shit, so much happened. Then you try and recall it and you're like, yeah, this happened, that happened, and like, actually not a whole lot did happen.
Yeah, well, that makes sense with like the whole like the part where they're getting it on and what's it called, and then out of nowhere she just goes, I love you, and then you know it's just like that would make sense. That's some shit that would fucking happen like out of a dream. You know what I mean? And
you know, I think the movie really tries to blur that line to the point where I would say there are very few what could be considered real scenes, if any. You know, it's hard to depict which ones are which. And what you said about the key is interesting because I think that there are maybe whole scenes that are reflections of what could be considered real events. You know, it's like some sort of event happened to the main character, Betty, who's Naomi Watts, in this movie, and most of the movie is this dream or nightmarish state where she's dealing with some of this trauma that happened. You know, it seems like the main plot is that she was going to be a movie star. She went to Hollywood. She met this woman. She got the part. There's some jealousy, but there's also jealousy in the fact that they then have a relationship, and then the woman who got the part goes on and has another relationship with the director. So, you know, and then apparently Naomi Watts' character goes on to get so jealous that she tries to have her assassinated. You know, and I think dealing with that trauma and dealing with it, the movie is more a characterization of a spiraling mental state, nightmares that you might have because of this traumatic event, or something like that, and it goes so far as to reflect and then reflect again, you know, to get to something that is kind of close to reality, and then something that gets closer to just a pure emotion that you're feeling about it, and that's where it really gets strange in the movie.
Yeah, I know. I do think the dream theory, that I mean it makes a lot of sense. You know, there's a lot to it, but I actually kind of had like a different take, a different spin. So like I was thinking the dream theory. I was thinking all of that. Like there's so many signs. Like I'm trying to think of shit in particular. Just like weird interactions, like the logic, right? Like obviously there's like a real story in there, but it's fucking mired in so much nonsense and wankery. And you know, but I think she is actually like in a way it's like kind of like Enter the Void. I kind of took it more so like that. Like you remember you
I haven't seen it.
Okay, so well the in that movie he takes DMT and then dies, and then basically like he like relives.
Yeah, he's like reborn.
Right, reborn, and and
we'll do that one for one of these.
Yeah, that's Lars von Trier. Yeah. Anyway, but I kind of thought this was, because one of the things I started thinking was like, this feels like a purgatory. This feels like a kind of like some kind of like, it feels ethereal, and it feels like some kind of like afterlife kind of feel to it. And I thought it was like kind of like she was going over like the events that led up into her death, her blowing her brains out. Like it was like kind of like, kind of like the ketamine feeling of being like disconnected from your body, dissociated. Yeah, exactly. That's why like in the beginning she goes by Betty, and then her lover / rival was Rita, and then later she was, I forget, Diane, and then it was Camilla, right? And that was the real, And so it's almost like she's kind of reliving the moments that led into her untimely death, right? Like, and I think also it kind of, this movie is like kind of like a statement on how actresses in particular are kind of like they're kind of just expendable, right? Like there's like the thing I got from this movie a lot, weirdly, was a lot of vitriol and anger towards the movie industry. And like one of my examples is like when they go after, like at the beginning when they're like, hey, this girl is the girl, and when you see her audition, you should say, this is the girl, right? And then
the cowboy guy.
Yeah, no, but
why
no,
was
no,
the
no.
cowboy directed
For some reason that cowboy just shows up out of nowhere. But
that's an unanswered question.
That's an unanswered question. Yeah,
the role of the cowboy guy.
But I feel like, I don't know. I feel that in her mind she kind of like had a psychosis. You know, she kind of had like a break. You know, that's why she hired, you know, the hitman. But I feel that it's, you know, this thing is like, it's not only like this weird like artsy like, you know, trying to tell a story in an interesting way type movie, but I think it's kind of, like I said, making a statement on the film industry and maybe even David Lynch's own frustrations. You know, like David Lynch is like the director, you know, in this movie, and you know, he's like, oh, I have no control over my movie, and then they go, oh, it's not your movie anymore. And that's shit I've heard, you know, through many stories in Hollywood. You know, it's fucked up. The movie making business is fucked up.
One thing I did jot down early on in the watching of it, I always said, is David Lynch trying to reveal something about how women are treated in Hollywood?
No, straight up, straight up. That's what I got out of this.
The scene when she goes to audition, when Betty, she's in the Betty state still, and she goes to audition for that role, and they're like, okay, show us what you got, and the guy's like, I'll play the role of the best friend of your father, and then it gets like really overtly sexual, and it's like,
honestly, I totally get what you're saying. He's definitely,
it has the Weinstein effect, where it's like, you want this role, well then show me what you got, you know. kind of vibe to it a little bit.
You know, I thought he's just such a weirdo, dude. David Lynch is just such a fucking weird dude.
You know, it's like some directors say, "Oh, this movie idea came to me in a dream." I feel like this is a David Lynch dream.
Yeah,
you know,
this is just one of his dreams put to film.
Yeah, that he managed to create into a film.
Yeah, and you know, I think maybe kind of going credence to your dream theory, like, people don't act like you would expect them to act, right? Like, that's the one thing that I was saying, like, what in acting is like, people don't react to things like there was like one thing where like she's like struggling to get over like some kind of like
she's
like,
going into the house,
right, and when she's going over, she's like, let's go, and then the girl Rita, she like pauses it, and then she just goes like, no, and it's like weird and like I said, disjointed. So like, yeah, that would be kind of like, you know, leading to that. But
well, you know, another thing that strikes me is that, how in dreams you don't really understand why you're doing things. You never stop to ask, like, well, should I be doing this? Should I not? And that's one of the things I noticed about Betty/Diane, Naomi Watts' character, is that she's like all in all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, this
no hesitation.
Woman
she's a down ass bitch. She's just down for whatever.
Crazy. It's
strange lady here at the house. We're best friends.
This woman shows up and she's like, boom, okay, we're going to help you, but we can't go to the cops. Okay, we're not going to go to the cops. Just keep remembering, we'll show up to some strange woman's house who you think is you, and she's just, there's never any question about like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Why am I helping this random person and covering for them? And you know, the relationship gets expanded on, but that sort of interaction is very just on the go. You know, all in from the start, very dreamlike.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Yeah, like in in a dream, you know, like you'll embark on some type of, at least in a long extended dream, you kind of like embark on some type of weird adventure, and there is never a moment when you're like, wait a second.
Well, yeah,
like,
no, that's
why are we doing this? What's going on? What's our goal here? What's the end game?
Yeah.
You know, what's the end game of these characters? Like, what are they trying to figure out? Why Rita / Camilla was in this accident and she can't remember anything is the best I could gather of what their goal was throughout the majority of the movie.
No, there is some mystery, and you got to go solve it because you gotta, you know.
And Bosco, in regards to the purgatory thing, I would say being in a dream state or being in a purgatory state are very similar. If you want to recall, maybe the original, the early seasons of the show Lost, it was highly debated. Are they in purgatory? Is this a dream? And I feel like that the two are very almost.
And then,
at least
and then by season 4, they completely dropped the ball.
Of course,
season
but you know, in a literary sense, the two can be interchangeable. Like, is this purgatory? Or are we in a dream? What are we doing here? Why is all this weird shit happening? But we got a mission somehow. There's a mission. We got to do this thing. Because, like, you know, and, like, you know, somehow all the characters are familiar, but not familiar, and it's surrealist in this weird way, and I feel like it can flip-flop either way, be like, oh, purgatory, I died, and now I'm in some weird purgatory state, or this is just a fever dream.
Alright, well, what about this, alright?
Okay.
And maybe it's because I'm a little stoned right now, but... I
drank a whole bottle of wine.
Yeah, you did. And our friend over here is sitting in ripped pants because my dog bit him.
That actually happened.
Is that a dream?
Is that a dream? We'll never know. Yeah.
Well, that's funny. That's I think the main question of the movie is: could it be argued that any of this actually happened? Did any of that happen?
Does anything ever happen?
The movie.
Did the scene? Here's the one that I want to know.
Oh, the magician.
The early scene. The magician, the theater scene, and the magician scene.
Yeah. Who the fuck is getting up out of bed and just going like, "Yo, we need to go to this theater real quick"? That's some dream shit.
But the opening cafe scene at Winky's when the weird guy's there and he's like, oh, I've had this weird dream, and then he does the walk around the corner and the ogre appears. Like, I'm like, is that real or is that a hallucination or dream or whatever?
Well, I think the ogre was the Reaper.
The Reaper?
Yeah, it was like the grim, like, you know, or like Satan. You know,
elaborate a bit more.
I don't know, like I don't know. I just feel like I'm getting like real purgatory vibes. I know you're saying.
Well, he appears in that opening scene and then doesn't reappear throughout the entire movie. In the entire movie, that is a very strong scene. Like that's a very impactful one. Where
dude, it's creepy as shit, dude.
Like, oh my god! And then you're the whole movie you're left there being like as all this stuff unfolds between Rita and Camilla, Betty, whatever, and you're still like, okay, this is happening, but the whole time you're like, wait, what about that weird guy, the weird ogre thing? And then at the very end is when then all of a sudden he's back there and he has the blue box that the key opens and he's like,
Well, so here's the thing. I think that there's an argument to be made that some things in this movie actually happen. And one thing I wanted to point out is I mentioned to you during the movie, but there's this weird close-up eye shot motif that happens 3 or 4 times. And it seems to me like it only happens between like the main characters. You know, it happens between Naomi Watts' character and the director and actually it did happen between him and one of the like movie exec guys.
All right.
It happens,
when he spit out the coffee.
It happens several times, and it seems like those moments for the characters are like really intense. Like they get like really shaky. They don't know what's happening, and that to
intensity me, out of nowhere. Like that's
it is. Yeah, and it seems to me like those are like the closest that this person is coming to like actually recollecting what happened. You know, those are the points where they're like, whoa, okay, I'm getting too real here, getting too real, and it goes on because, you know, the you know, I think she's generally dealing with that sort of trauma like throughout the movie of like things that are really happening, but it's really messed up and it's really distant to her during the movie. And I think the main background you know, subplot is trying to deal with that, like that ogre, that overarching like anxiety or scaredness that you get hit with right at the beginning of the movie and comes back at the end during like maybe the most intense part. So that's the core feeling that she's trying to run away from.
So let me ask this question: would you say the shot of the eyes when the camera zooms on the eyes, is that indicative that they're dreaming or that they're awake? What would you say?
I think it's close to awake.
Close to
awake. Yeah, it's getting away from, you know, this dreamland of, well, I'm not really sure what I'm doing, but I'm going. There's action, to finding something that is like, oh, whoa, this is like something that reminds me of that event specifically, not just running around the city, you know.
Well, yeah, you know, well, one thing in regards to the eyes, you know, what's interesting is in the one scene that also I feel like is very unexplained, with the original scene with the hitman, where he's with that random guy and he has off-colored eyes. One eye's brown, one eye's blue. He kills that guy, and then he kills the lady in the office and the janitor. And then when it returns to him later in the movie, when she's trying to get a hit out on Camilla, his eyes are normal. You know, so in the weird dream stateness of the opening of the film, he has these off-colored eyes. But then when it's in reality, and to prove as evidence that it is reality, when he presents the key, which I believe is the token to show that you're awake, he presents the normal looking key, his eyes are normal.
Yeah. But
in the dream state, his eyes are off colored, the hitman's eyes.
So let's just you ever get like really disturbed from dreams? Because like I feel like you know, there's a lot of times where I've like woken up from dreams and like I'll be crying or I'll be like super emotional and I'm like, bro, I didn't need this shit. I didn't need to wake up and be all fucking weird. You know what I mean though? Like,
I will say, you know what, Lexapro causes vivid dreams.
Really?
And a lot of the feeling that I get from those dreams is not like terror or anything, but it's a lot like this, where you get this really deep sense of unease. Like, like I've had several where I'm in like some sort of like awkward social interaction. Like I had one where I was like invited to a party, and then everyone like brought gifts. Like it was Christmas, and I hadn't done any shopping.
Oh, of
and
course.
I was like, oh my god, like I'm being so rude. And then all of a sudden, like everyone was going to do something, but I didn't know what was happening, so I was totally unprepared, and I missed out on this like crazy good thing, and it gave me so much more anxiety and like just this unease.
Well, I have a reoccurring stress dream, and it's fucking such horse shit, dude. I fucking hate it every time I have one. And it's this fucking dream where I'm back in college, right? And I'm more than halfway through the semester, and like basically I haven't done any of my homework, anything, and I got like I'm basically just trying to make up for everything, and it's like this rapid dash to like do all this nonsense, by the way, all this like complete, and it's just like, what was the point of that? What was the point of that? And then I wake up and I'm all fucking anxious, and I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah, and that's the same sort of like vibe that you get from like going from this one vignette to the next, that like you never really get a ton of resolution. All you get is this anxious feeling.
Yeah. Well, you always. I remember when we were living together. I remember you would always tell me some of the fucking dreams that you would have, and man, like there were some weird ones in there.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a very vivid dreamer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of strange ones. It's funny you mentioned the one about school. I had one about a month ago where I had to return the class, and like in the dream I was like, I've graduated. Like I kept being like, I don't know why I gotta go back to school. I've graduated. And it was about me. Like I went back to school there, and like it was COVID style school, so I'm like, do I wear the mask? Do I not wear the mask? And like the whole time I'm dealing with that problem. But then also like it's like the class I'm looking for is in a building in a place I've never heard of, and so the whole time I'm walking around, and I'm walking around like I'm like trying to ask people, like I have the mask on half the time the mask is off, and I'm like, do I go to class here? Is this an online thing? Thing? And then people, nobody knows. And I'm walking around like, do I just show up with the mask on? Do I walk in maskless? Do I log on online? I don't know. And then like midway through the dream, I'm like, I've graduated. What the fuck am I doing
Zach,
here?
you're late for finals and you didn't study.
But no, there'll always be a point where like in it where I'm like almost like part of me was like, wait a second. Like, and like a part of me will like a weird part of my mind will be like, hold on, I think this is a dream. And then like at that moment, like my mind will snap out of it, and I'll snap out of the dream and like kind of reawaken. But I'm in the middle of like deep sleep, so like I'll fall back asleep quickly, and the dream just kind of snuffs itself out there. Like
I'm just basic. Like most of the ones, I would have this a lot, and it's happened like most of my life, and it's because I'm lonely. But like basically I would always like have dreams of like random, like girls in, like from high school, random girls from college, and like basically like I'd have a dream where like my life would play out with them and how I think it would happen. And it was weird because sometimes dude, I swear this one time I thought it was just this random girl, right, that I had made up, and then the next day I went to class at Sonoma, and I saw the fucking girl from my dreams. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Why can't I use this like fucking brain power to do something actually useful other than fucking pick some random girl you see at fucking Sonoma, and then you have a dream where you fall in love and happily ever after.
That would happen to me in a similar way, where like a girl that like I would, let's say I know them in real life. I know it's a real person. I know them in real life, but I've never like thought about them in a sexual way, and then I'll have a dream that's like a sexual dream about that girl, and then I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be so horny for that girl. I'm like, I gotta call her now.
Dude, sometimes I've done that, and I've gone to go look at their Facebook. I'm like, I wonder what they look like now. I
gotta call her right now.
I had one.
Super horny for you.
I had one the other night where I had okay, this will make you laugh. So it was this random girl from my fucking high school. Doesn't matter, right? She was cute, whatever. Who cares? And so so basically I like had this fucking weird. It was so weird, just like so many like. I feel like there's like so many unnecessary hoops I have to jump through in my fucking dreams. It's like well, like why am I not just doing something? It's like, oh, I got to do the thing before I do the thing, And then finally we're about to have sex in a bathroom stall, and I'm having to, and I'll know this is when I start lucid dreaming. It's I have to piss, and then I'll go take a piss in the bathroom, but then what will happen is I'll have to take another piss like 5 seconds later, right? But in reality, I just have to piss like in real life. Like in real life, I just like I'll wake up from a good dream, not a fucking nightmare where I feel like I'm a failure, and I'll wake up from the piss, and I swear to God, with the same logic, I have tried to pee and then go back to sleep and see if I can get back to that same moment in my dream. And that's something silly to admit at the age of 27 years old.
I think we've all had dreams that we've woken up from and been like, that was awesome, let me fall back asleep and get back to it.
Okay, alright, so that's not... Okay.
Oh, yeah, no. Like, no, take me back, I don't want to wake up.
Most of the times, yeah.
You ever had the ones, if you're have an alarm set that you've been used to waking up to for a long time,
yeah,
and it's almost like your mind knows that your internal clock's telling you have to wake up, and like your mind aligns the climax of your dream with the alarm.
Oh, I've definitely had that happen.
Yeah. You'll be sleeping, and then like right when it's getting good, it's like.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like sometimes
mine's the
mine's
the Naruto theme song, so it's just
horrible.
Sometimes things will happen right as I'm waking up. Like I've you have like you fell off a building or you got hit with a baseball bat, and like right as I get hit, that's when my alarm goes off. It's wild.
Dude, I had one. I remember when I was a young kid. I had one where I was falling and I straight up had fallen off in my bed. I had rolled off in my bed and I woke up on the floor.
Oh man. Actually, this all reminds me of a dream theory that I pretty much firmly believe in now.
Okay.
Which I first heard of in high school by our science fiction teacher, Tom Alessandri. And so I've never kept a dream journal, but he once told me that he kept a dream journal. He had this dream about saying, we're having cheese for breakfast, and then he ends up traveling to France some months later. He goes down to the hotel lobby. They're having breakfast, and this waiter brings out this whole plate of cheese, and he goes, "Oh, what? We're having cheese for breakfast?" And he goes, "Whoa, okay." I just had very intense deja vu. He goes and he looks it up in his dream journal, and God damn it, there it is. And ever since then,
shit,
I've been
clairvoyance, dude.
I've been fully convinced ever since then that deja vu is something that you've dreamed. Something, I'm telling you, most of the time that it happens to me, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I saw this in a dream.
Yeah.
I don't keep a dream journal, but I'm telling you.
I feel like I get that with people a lot for some reason. I get deja vu with people, like, where sometimes I'll, like, see someone, I'm like, do I know that guy? And most of the time it's no, but, sometimes I'm like, do I know that guy? He looks familiar.
Yeah. I have that same kind of feeling. And in the same way, like...
Who is this bitch?
But the dreams, like, sometimes I'll think about dreams that I had and I'll be like, I wonder if that's going to happen to me. Like, they're spotty. I don't think they're very reliable for predicting deja vu.
No. I wouldn't bet your life on your dreams.
Oh, I wouldn't either, but I'm telling you, sometimes it's spot on. It's perfect.
Yeah, you're right.
The premonition to the clairvoyance.
Somehow, and I might just believe that until they actually figure out how dreams work.
Remember Bosco and I was saying when we're living together.
I already know which one you're talking about, the murder spree?
Yeah, okay, so there is a series of dreams. They were like connected, but also not connected, where I was like either on trial of some kind or I was on the run from the law. I was on the lam. And it started with a dream that I still think is hilarious to this day, where I had been arrested, and they're like, "You're under arrest for murder." And I go to court, and they're like, "We have your accomplice here, and he's here, right here. There he is, and it's Bosco." And I'm like, "Oh my God!"
Did you do it? Did you do it?
I'm like, "Yeah, no," and I'm like, Bosco fucking murdered somebody, and here I am taking the heat for Bosco's murder.
I thought you murdered somebody.
Yeah, but then
I like how it's instantly like, "Oh my God, it was Bosco."
Yeah, and I was believe that, but then the weird thing is, in the dream, I'm like, dude, you fucking killed somebody, and now I'm in trouble for it with you here. And Bosco has the same reaction in my dream where he's like, "No, you murdered somebody, and now here I am in trouble for your murder." And then like
we're having a Larry David argument,
and we start arguing with each other like, "No, you murdered them, and I'm here in trouble." And then like we kind of like it kind of like.
We're
like
framed.
Rolls out, and then we both are like, I'm like, "Okay, tell me the truth. You didn't murder anybody." He's like, "No, I didn't murder anybody. You tell me the truth. You didn't murder anybody?" And I'm like, "I did not murder anybody."
Who's murdering people?
And we then we were like both like, "Okay, so we're both innocent, right? Like, hand the God, we're innocent." And we're like, "Okay, we're innocent." And we're like, "Well, here we go to trial." Both of us accused of a murder we didn't commit.
Yeah, there was no fantasy. It was just like, all right, now we're just gonna be tried for a murder that we didn't do.
Oh my God.
And that dream would be succeeded by a series of other dreams where either I was in trial for something random or I would be on the run. Like, I had a dream where I was like running around. The thing with dreams is things will become very distorted as they are in the Lynch films. Like, I was like at the mall running running from the police, but it wasn't quite the mall. It was like there's no shops around. It was like the mall, but it was like a series of like concrete mazes and tunnels and almost like a climbing structure. So it's like a dream gives you something familiar and something that you kind of know, but then like distorts it in this weird way where it's kind of becomes foreign and unrecognizable. And bring this back to the David Lynch film, like the thing with the names, or how Rita is like, I think I know who I am, but I also don't know who I am. And they keep seeing the waitress at the Winkies, and at first her name tag says Diane, then it says Betty. It's kind of this idea of like you're looking at something that's like, yeah, this is familiar, but then also somehow it's like completely foreign at the same time.
Yeah.
And so like I would have this dream. I'm like at the mall, and I know where I am, and I know that I'm there, but somehow it's a different place.
Yeah. So final thoughts.
Final thoughts about this film.
Let's start with Andrew. He's the guest.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I would definitely watch it again.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those ones, and I was trying to, pick up every detail, but it's one of those ones where I think if you watch it again, you'd be much better able to pick out, oh, okay, maybe this is, this is important for later on in the movie. This is more fake. This is more surreal. This is more actual. But overall, like, very interesting. I think it does a great job of capturing what it feels like to be in a dream in retrospect.
Totally. What would you give it?
8+, strong 8 out of 10.
That makes sense. Yeah. You're using the Fantano system. A strong 8.
I don't like Fantano that much, but his rating system doesn't suck.
Yeah. So I'll go next. First time watching it, I'm a huge fan of Lynch. He's just such a weird fucking esoteric dude, and he likes what he likes, and somehow he manages to cobble together this fucking insane roller coaster ride of nonsense and fantasy. He turns the mundane into mythical. The guy is just like, he's a phenom, dude. He's ridiculous. And I know, I feel like he could be divisive. People could not like him. I think Buck wants to get in. No. He's gonna fuck with the chords, dude. I'm pissed with him.
No Buck.
No Buck. You stay outside. But yeah, so, really good. The acting. Here's the thing, is that it was good acting, but they weren't doing good acting. They were doing like a weird disjointed version of acting. So it would be weird to say that this was good acting, because I think they were good at trying to do what they wanted, like trying to do this weird, like, like flat and wooden delivery, it's strange. It's like, I know it's going to sound weird, but like people don't, like, in this movie, people use weird tone at weird moments, right? Like you said, like sometimes it'll be an explosion of weirdness, or sometimes it'll just be some weird dude in the corner staring at you that looks like your Greek uncle Yorgo, and yeah, so I dig it. I'd probably give it a strong 8. Yeah, strong to mid 8. All right, Zach, you want to wrap it up?
All right. Well, I do like this film. I hesitate to say that I like it better than other David Lynch work. I think I like Blue Velvet more than this one.
Yeah. Well, that one was actually telling like a kind of a story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This one, the disjointedness is a little jarring. At
yeah,
least on
I feel.
The first watch through.
Sorry, just before you give your final thoughts, I just want to, like, if anyone takes this as a recommendation, definitely like know you're about to watch some weird shit. Yeah, like.
Yeah. Like one thing I had written down in my notes from about the first half of the movie was I was like, I can't tell who the main character is here. Like, who am I supposed to be following?
Yeah.
Is it the director? Is it Betty? Is it Rita? Is it the combination of all of them? And I guess at the end it's supposed to be Betty / Diane. with, I guess, somewhat Rita's and / Camilla. You know, but other times it's super unsettling, and that's what I love about it. Just the soundtrack, certain scenes, the weirdness of it is super unsettling and just uncomfortable in a way that, like, I think that's the intended purpose, is to make you so unsettled and uncomfortable, and to, you know, kind of throw you off track in how you follow the film. But, you know, I feel I could have done a little bit more with, a little bit better with a little bit more cohesion in bringing it all together at the end. It was, it ended still, like, it did answer some of the questions, I feel like, with at least the key and certain characters, but other things I feel like were kind of just at a loss. Like, for example, the director's wife banging Billy Ray Cyrus, and then that's
that was
really,
weird.
like, yeah. Or, like, the whole thing with the Italian guys kind of running the show. That's never really
the weird dude, the weird midget dude behind the glass.
It's never really flushed out there at the end, but I guess it does its job in leaving you feeling unsettled and just confused in the way that I guess a fucking creepy ass, weird, disturbing dream would, you know. But still, you know, I enjoy it. I think it's a good film, and I would say it's a recommend. I wouldn't put it at an 8. I would go more of a 7. 6.57.
Ooh, harsh.
I mean, it's better than most films, I think, in my opinion.
Alright, that's fine.
But in terms of David Lynch's work and comparing it to movies I would hope to further review on this show, I would say it's a 7. So
that's not that bad.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was thought-provoking, but also disjointed and hazy. And in a way that kind of just leaves you just unsettled in a good way, that it was like, yeah, this movie meant to leave you unsettled, but also just kind of like a little bit unsatisfied in some weird way too. So.
Alright, well, that's gonna do it for us. That's what's the movie called again? Mullholland Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're out. Peace.
Thank you.
Have a good night.